Alright, one more example. So we're given the function f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, probably a function that you're familiar with. Now a, b, and c are all constants, and I'm not going to worry about whether they're integers or not right now. It just matters that they're numbers. We don't have to get into whether this is any kind of proper kind of function. This is just the function that we're dealing with. It shouldn't matter. So f of x is ax squared plus bx plus c, and what we're trying to find is where... Alright, one more example. So we're given the function f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. You probably recognize this as the function for a parabola. And what we're trying to do is find where does f prime of x, the derivative, equals 0. You know, it's kind of an interesting question and one that will become more obvious as we go further, you know, why we'd ask this question. But let's just say we're asking this question for whatever reason. So what we need to do is, and where does f prime of x equal 0 is, of course, referring to what x point makes f prime of x equal to 0. So we need to take the derivative of our function of x here. And now this may seem a little different since we're dealing with these a's, b's, and c's instead of numbers that we're familiar with. But these are some constant. It doesn't matter what they are. So we can just treat them as constants. We just treat them as a coefficient that we pull out of the derivative. So f prime of x, and I'm going to do this in a different color this time. F prime of x is going to be equal to, well, we can just pull the 2 down as a coefficient, right? And then subtract 1. And that will just be 2a times x to the first. Plus, well, b times x, this is the same as x to the first. So that's going to be 1 times b to the x minus 1. So that's just going to be plus b. And then c is a constant, right? That's the same as multiplying by x to the 0, and the derivative will be 0. So we just get this formula here, 2ax plus b. Now we need to find where does f prime of x equal to 0. So I'm just going to set f prime of x as 0 here, and say that that's equal to 2ax plus b. And remember, we're trying to find the x value that makes this true here, that f of prime of x is 0. So, you know, let's just solve. We subtract b from both sides, right? So negative b, and we can divide by 2a on both sides. I'm sorry, I'm making this a little messy. So negative b over 2a, right? We're just dividing this out. These cancel over 2a. Negative b over 2a is going to be our x value. And this might seem sort of interesting because it reminds you, hopefully, of something from Algebra 1 or Algebra 2 or whenever you learned about parabolas. And if not, stay tuned, but I think that this is kind of a hint about what's to come in future videos. So thanks for watching, and I hope the power rule is somewhat more clear now if it wasn't before.